Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode.
Hi.
Amanda, what are we going to talk about today?
So, I would like to talk about this third round of chemo. I finished round 3 of 6, and this has been by far the best round of chemo that I feel I've experienced. I was able to ward off the real icky feeling. Usually it's day 2 that starts to get kind of icky, but this time it was day 4 and 5. So that's a huge positive.
Well, even then, day 4, I think, was your worst day, and day 5 was much better than day 4.
Yes.
And you recovered quicker afterwards. From my perspective, what was really incredible about this round, when you did the first round, it was almost like you were kind of gearing yourself up, and there was a lot of talk with getting nauseous. What if I get nauseous? What if I get sick? The second round, it was almost even more so about anticipating, I'm just going to feel bad, I'm going to feel horrible. And then the third round, you really made it a point to go out and do stuff. You spent the first day out celebrating a friend, doing some shopping, which we talked about in our little recap video. And you, even in the moments on days 3 and 4 when you're feeling more crummy, when you were engaged socially with people, you kind of had this reprieve of it.
Yeah.
Right. And so it really lends to some of the things that we've been talking about, that we can optimize this, we can improve the process with it for you. As you were moving, you did better. As you were socializing and engaging with people you love and care about, it really helped.
I realize I am not allowed to see any of my providers on chemo week. It's a tough week. It really is. It did get better this time, but I talked to one of my providers, and I do like this provider. I don't think that they were trying to be like ill intent or anything like that, but
Definitely not.
Pretty much what I was told was it didn't matter if I changed my diet or exercised or anything like that. It was just going to come down to the genetic profile of my tumor, and there's really nothing I can do about it. And then me knowing about my genetic profile of my tumor, which I do have some pretty crummy markers, but I then asked her about isn't the fact that I had a super resection, which means my surgeon was able to take out the entire tumor, and he made a wider margin. And I asked her about that, and she said, "Oh, that's actually more important than your genetic markers." So I went from the swing of, why am I even trying? Because what the hell's the point? As in diet, exercise, meditation, all that kind of stuff, to yes, what I've been told all along is how blessed I am to have had the resection and the surgery that I had, which was day 2. Totally emotional. Called my mom, talked to her for about an hour and a half on the phone. If you're blessed to have your mom around, and if you have a good relationship, it's always a really nice thing to talk to someone who's been with you for your entire life and be able to talk about these things. And then the swing came, so that was day 2. So the day after I finished chemo, I went to see another provider, and this provider just is probably my number 1 fan, and he would just say stuff like, you don't understand how lucky you are to have the surgery you have. When we see long-term survivorship, it tends to be with the super resections. It's tend to be with just being at a hub like UCSF, and so it was just such a ugh. And then it was just so hopeful over here. So I realized I emotionally can't handle chemo week well, and I need to not see providers, and I don't need their opinions, because I can't, especially when I'm not feeling well, I can't grasp what they were saying, and I can't take it with a grain of salt, because it's like, it just feels, it's absolute, and that's usually not the case, because a lot of times they are all saying conflicting things.
Yeah, and I think that absolute thing is a really important distinction, Amanda, because the one was definitely not saying that that's the only thing.
Right.
And it's also something for everybody who might find themselves in a position similar to us. A really important question, really important thing to consider is when you're going to see your providers, make sure you have thought about what questions you want to ask, and make sure that you're asking questions that support the answers you want to hear. This question came up because I had asked what, over your time seeing all these different patients, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember exactly what it was, what are some of the things that you see being commonly attributable to long-term survivorship? And they just kind of jumped into, and keep in mind, this had been a long meeting. We were near the end of it. They were running late for another appointment. And so they kind of said, well, what we see most is, what I think it is most is genetics. And then when Amanda heard that, it was a very unempowering thing for her, because she's been really proud of herself for all the things she has been doing. And also, she really wanted to hear from that point, oh, you're doing so great, you're doing all these positive things, right? And because it feels good, it's reaffirming, especially when you're feeling crummy and stuff too. Yeah, I think you did overall really well, and you've learned some great things for this one, and there'll be stuff that you can apply for the next round here in a few weeks.
Yes, and the one huge thing that had happened this time that is something different, and it will be like going forward, is I've identified as a runner. I've been running for 10 years, and I have a friend named Larry I've never had an injury running half marathons, 29:029, any kind of distance runs. I utilize my friend Larry. He's incredible. And I got a massage from Larry 2 days after chemo this round. I felt like a completely different person the next day, and then I did actually another massage the next day after that. I have recovered well. A lot of times after chemo, word finding is really hard. It's hard to be around stimulation, and man, I bounced back fast this round, and I'm super proud. And hats off to Larry, because he's an incredible masseuse, but like, oh my gosh, I really can never thank him enough. And moving forward, now I know how to really utilize kind of getting the toxins out as quickly as I can, while not thinking like I'm damaging chemo. I mean, I wouldn't do a massage during chemo, but a couple days after, I think that would be fair game to kind of get the toxins moving around. And I am very proud of this round.
Good. We'll be looking forward to the next one, and you integrating these new pieces that you learned, and also identifying one or two new variables that we can test out to hopefully optimize this next one even more for you.
Yes.
All right, buddy, that's all for today. We love you. We appreciate you. As always, thank you so much for being with us on this journey. Just 15 seconds, I started reading this book by a medical doctor who was talking about the scientifically studied power of prayer and its contributory factor to healing. We've said all along that your prayers, your love, your good energy you've sent to us really has been paramount, and we can feel it. We are so gratefully receiving it, and it is making a difference. And now there's doctors out there who have written books who are validating this. So keep the prayers, keep the good energy coming. We love you, appreciate you, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.